Questions are being raised about whether Donald Trump is truly safe even inside his own country, after a second high-profile security scare shook the presidency. This time the concern involved Marine One, the presidential helicopter, which was caught up in a mid-air safety incident near Washington. Investigators say Trump's helicopter escaped a potential mid-air collision thanks to separation that stayed just within the margins of safety rules. All of this unfolded against a backdrop of soaring tensions with Iran and threats from Mojtaba and his aides, raising questions over whether Trump's safety is being indirectly compromised. On August 4th, Donald Trump experienced his second major security scare, this time involving Marine One as the helicopter carried him away from the White House for a trip to California. The U.S. Federal Aviation Administration has confirmed it is reviewing the air traffic safety incident, launching an investigation to determine what air traffic control and routing decisions led to the unusual loss of separation. The event involved the military helicopter carrying Trump and a commercial jet departing the Washington area, putting a presidential aircraft and passenger plane in closer proximity than normal during takeoff. Marine One lifted off from the White House at around 2:33 p.m. local time, but unlike newer procedures that typically halt commercial flights during such movements, traffic was not fully stopped that afternoon. At the time, Trump was en route to Joint Base Andrews, planning to board Air Force One for a trip to California, when a helicopter's flight path intersected with busy airport traffic flows. Almost simultaneously, a regional E-170 jet bound for Florida departed Washington's Reagan National Airport at 2:34 p.m., creating the conditions for an apparent loss of separation with Marine One. That envoy air flight was involved in what officials describe as an apparent loss of separation event with a presidential helicopter, meaning the distance between the two aircraft fell below required safety minima. FAA rules near airports demand that aircraft remain at least 1.5 miles apart horizontally and 500 feet apart vertically, standards designed to prevent exactly the kind of mid-air collision seen in Washington in 2025. According to initial reporting, Marine One and the jet did not fully maintain those separation requirements, but officials stressed the two aircraft were not converging on the same point and did not approach a collision course. Subsequently, both the presidential helicopter and the commercial flight landed safely without incident, and no injuries were reported, Reuters and other outlets noted. The FAA is now planning to convene a dedicated safety review team to examine radar data, controller actions, and routing decisions, aiming to prevent similar situations in the future. Another regional flight that was about 3 miles from the airport at the same time was reportedly sent around for caution, reflecting heightened sensitivity after previous accidents. After the deadly 2025 mid-air crash, the FAA imposed permanent restrictions on helicopter operations near Reagan National, including limits on mixed helicopter, jet traffic, and new routing rules. In January 2025, an American Airlines regional jet and a U.S. Army helicopter collided mid-air over the Potomac River near Washington, killing all 67 people on board and prompting a sweeping overhaul of airspace rules. Since that disaster, commercial air traffic is typically halted whenever Marine One operates near Reagan National, but the August 4th incident shows how even refined procedures can still produce borderline scenarios. The timing of this air traffic scare coincides with soaring tensions between the United States and Iran and heightened fears over Trump's security, adding another layer to concerns about presidential protection. An armed man was arrested outside President Donald Trump's golf club in Rancho Palos Verdes, Los Angeles County, on August 4th. The arrest came just 2 days before President Donald Trump was scheduled to visit the golf resort, prompting heightened security concerns. Federal agents alerted local sheriff's deputies after the man was reportedly seen behaving suspiciously near the golf club, according to reports. Investigators said the suspect appeared to be photographing the property and monitoring security preparations around the golf course before Trump's visit. Authorities identified the suspect as 38-year-old Janine John Taylor of Downey, California. Deputies said they found a loaded magazine containing hollow point ammunition in the suspect's pocket at the time of his arrest. Sheriff's Department said, and I quote, "The individual was observed walking throughout the golf course grounds taking photographs and videos and appearing to monitor security planning activities." Multiple notebooks containing statements and radio signal devices were also discovered, unquote. Authorities also recovered a loaded handgun from the suspect's vehicle, which was parked near the Trump Golf Club. A subsequent search of the suspect's home reportedly uncovered an illegally modified AR-style rifle, according to investigators. Officials also recovered a .45 caliber pistol, body armor, high-capacity magazines, and additional ammunition during the search. Investigators said several notebooks containing concerning writings were also seized as part of the ongoing investigation. 2 radio signal devices were reportedly recovered from the suspect's residence along with other evidence, according to investigators. The sheriff's department said the suspect was already under investigation in connection with a separate robbery case before this incident. The suspect now faces charges that include robbery, carrying a concealed firearm, and multiple weapons-related offenses. Authorities said there is currently no evidence that the suspect planned to attack President Donald Trump, according to CNN. Investigators stressed that the case remains active as they continue examining the suspect's motive and the evidence collected. President Trump reportedly arrived at the golf resort as scheduled despite the security incident and heightened law enforcement presence. The latest security scare has once again raised questions about the level of protection surrounding President Trump's public appearances. Federal, state, and local law enforcement agencies continue investigating whether the suspect acted alone or had any accomplices. Investigators are now analyzing the seized notebooks, electronic devices, and radio equipment to determine the suspect's intentions. Officials have not announced any direct link between the suspect and any specific threat against President Donald Trump. The incident has placed security arrangements surrounding President Trump's California visit under renewed public and official scrutiny. The security scare comes after previous calls for retaliation against President Trump were made by some figures in Iran following the killing of Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei, although authorities have not linked this arrest to those calls. The incident also comes as reports suggest the United States and Iran are making renewed efforts to revive diplomatic negotiations despite continuing tensions.
There was a threat. There was a man who was arrested, seemed to be heavily armed near the property here on Sunday. It's an ongoing concern, sir. Talk about that for briefly, if we can.
Well, the only thing I get a little solace from is they say only consequential presidents. And I am definitely consequential. I mean, if you look at the economy, if you look at what's happening, Iran, as an example, will never have a nuclear weapon. They already can't, but it's going to be formal. The Strait's going to be open very soon, or they're going to get hit very hard, and then the Strait's going to be open. And we were going to a tremendous attack, the biggest since World War II. And they called me and said, very politely, please, can we talk? Can we talk? They didn't want. And I said, yes, we can talk. Let's get it done. Finally, let's get it done. This should have been done by other presidents for 50 years. You know, you keep hearing 47, but that's been for 3 years now. It's been over 50 years. Other presidents or other countries should have been able to do this. And I did something that I had to do, because if they had a nuclear weapon, this whole world would be a different place.
If they back out again, are they done?
Well, if they back out again, they're going to get hit really hard. You know, they know that. They understand that. We hit them very, very hard, but the hard hit is yet to come, and hopefully we won't have to use it. I hope we won't have to. We're having very good discussions. They don't like to admit that, but it's a little bit disconcerting. You tell people like you, we're having wonderful discussions, and then some guy will come out of Iran and say, we have not met, we have not, it's just such a lie. All day long, you understand, it's just incredible.
Upgrade your news experience with the all-new HT app. Download now.